There he is. I see you. How are you this evening, my guy?
I am doing well.
So happy, man. I'm real excited about this evening. Yeah, let me.
Likewise.
Can you hear me? Am I good? Am I clear?
I can hear you well. How is the sound on my end?
Sounds good. All right.
Good. How was the day off? Did you take the day off?
What's that? No day off.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's no such thing as a day off. I wish.
Yeah. Is the tax season starting to heat up for you?
It is, man. Yeah. It is, man, which is like, to me, it's perfect timing for this, man, because the more I talk to people, especially those people who are self-employed and they just don't have the necessary documents to move forward. So it's like we always got to put it on pause, but then they have this sense of urgency, like, but no, I need this done now. Well, if you would have had what you needed to have, we wouldn't have had this problem. So
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I didn't take the day off either, but you know how it is with startups.
Like I said, no such thing as a day off.
No such thing.
All right, there we are. Mute, turn the silence off. All right, man. So let me do the introduction then, I guess. So what is going on, family? Welcome back to yet another YouTube here on the Tax Guys YouTube channel. Today, I am honored. I am very humbled to have in the studio. I can say in the studio, but you're here with me, right, Paul? Like you're here. We're in it together, even though he's miles away, but he's here with me. But I am bringing to you the founder of what I personally consider to be a game changer in the way that we track our expenses. I am super excited about this. I mentioned this to you before, and Paul was gracious enough to carve time out of his busy schedule to join us here to bring the personal side of what I consider to be a game-changing application. I'm super excited. I mean, I know you know that I'm excited because I've told you about this before, but that's why I'm honored to have Paul here with us today. He is the co-founder of Keeper Bookkeeping Tax System, the app which is, in my opinion, going to change the game. I'm almost kind of like nervous about it when you put it out there. Like so many people are going to want to replicate this and duplicate this, man. But to me, it is the catalyst to the solution for the self-employed community. And that's why I'm super excited to have this wonderful guy here on the show. So let me not take all the time. I want to give Paul a little time to kind of introduce himself. So Paul, man, thank you for coming on here, man, and speaking to the family, speaking to the community, man. So why don't you just kind of introduce yourself and give us a little bit about who you are and your background?
Absolutely. Yeah. Tyrone, first of all, thank you for having me. And I really admire your channel. I love the energy and the sort of the fun atmosphere you bring to taxes. So I'm honored to be here. I don't, you flattered me with all that, but cool. Yeah. Let me dive into my background. So, living out here in San Francisco, I used to work and be the head of a product called Stride Tax.
Really?
I was doing that for about 3 years. So Stride Tax is a mileage and expense tracking app. It's, folks in your audience might be familiar with other versions like QuickBooks Self-Employed or Everlance, Hurdler. These are all apps which, basically allow you to be your own bookkeeper. You go, you sit down on a Sunday, you pull out your receipts, you start putting them into your app. When you start driving, you turn on your mileage tracker.
Right.
And, I worked on that for a while. And when I was, building that, I remember I loved reading the App Store reviews. It's like your baby when you're building something. So I care a lot about what people say.
Right.
So I would read these App Store reviews. And I remember the ones that I loved the most. They were the ones where people said, hey, this app helped me discover that, XYZ thing I was already paying for is a tax.
Right. Right.
And that's what woke me up in the morning. That was the thing that I loved hearing the most, because it was like we were putting money, back in people's pockets.
Right.
Rather than just, because most of the reviews were something like, hey, you saved me time. I don't have to keep a paper mileage log. That's great. But it's the ones where they said like, hey, you helped me discover, basically money that I love the most.
Right.
And so, I was working on this for a while, and I caught myself thinking about like, there weren't very many of these people, because most of the people who were leaving reviews were actually they were older. Like the average age for the app was about 37. So they were older, and they actually, most of the people didn't say like, you helped me discover this. And I think that was because the types of people who were using a mileage and expense tracker, Stride Tax, they kind of already had their stuff together.
Right.
They already had a system. They already had a spreadsheet. They were already, maybe hopefully listening to your channel, but they weren't they weren't the kind of people who like were going to wing it at the end of the year.
Right.
And so it was unlikely that we were going to like help them discover that they could claim home office and get $1,000 back in their pocket, or they were probably already tracking this stuff themselves.
Okay.
And that's, long story short, I wanted to see, the reason that we started Keeper was to try to build a product that that would appeal to the types of people who were not using Stride Tax, who were not already tracking expenses, and sort of didn't, basically millennials, basically people who were who hadn't been through tax time many times before and didn't know exactly what was deductible, what wasn't, and were ultimately the ones leaving the most money on the table.
Right, man. Wow, that's so. Now this is why I'm excited, and I feel like meeting a movie star. Like I'm here talking to a celebrity, right? Because Stride Tax. Now, I had never heard of it until I started the channel, and many people, when I first created the video, how to file the perfect tax return for the Uber and Lyft people, and that was specifically did a video for those individuals, the rideshare people, and they was like, "Oh yeah, Stride Tax, I swear by it. Have you heard of it?" And I was like, "No, I've never heard of Stride Tax. Let me go look it up." And I started to reach out to my friends, and my friend, "Oh yeah, I use Stride Tax all the time." So to be sitting here talking to the individual who's responsible for that, man, I feel like, I'm a Hollywood reporter, and here hey, Paul here.
Makes me happy. So, we had a partnership with Uber. That was part of the reason that, we got up in front of a lot of Uber drivers. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, wow, family, we have a celebrity here on the channel. That is amazing. The creator of Stride Tax, man. So with that being said, now you went from Stride Tax to creating this wonderful, amazing app called Keeper. So what exactly is Keeper from your standpoint? Yeah.
In one line, Keeper is a service that finds tax deductions for you, right? Okay. So every, the app, Stride Tax, every other app, you have to be your own accountant, basically. You have to be your own bookkeeper. You have to go in, you have to input stuff and track your miles. Keeper is designed to work for the people who are the most lazy, like me, basically, right? The people who
raise my hand. That's me too.
Exactly. Me too. Yeah. The people who aren't don't want to go Google all the what's a write-off, what isn't. Don't want to spend their Sunday nights doing this. It's really meant for it's meant for lazy people. And the way we do it is we basically combine algorithmic suggestions with a team of human bookkeepers who review purchase history and suggest tax write-offs to you. So let me back up for a second. So let's say I'm someone who's 1099, who's self-employed. All I have to do is tell us a little bit about your work, link a bank account so that we can actually access purchase history. And then we're going to start automatically finding you tax write-offs.
Wow. That is amazing. Keeper. So Keeper is like short for bookkeeper. Is that how he came with the name?
Yeah. I mean, it felt like there was two sides to that. There's bookkeeper, and then there's also just keeping that money in your pocket. It's a shame if you let that go, because it's the government. I mean, the government will take it, but
oh man, let's not. Yes, the government will take it, but I don't even want to go there right now, because refunds and leaving money on the table, man, is very, very interesting subject, very touching subject to me, man. So so how did Keeper come to be? Like, I know you were kind of already in that space of Stride Tax, keeping mileage, man. So where did the idea or the inspiration from Keeper come from?
Yeah. It was a funny story because it was very ironic. I left my job at Stride, and then I was self-employed. I started doing some consulting, and and of course I was like, well, obviously I'm going to use the app I built. Obviously I'm going to use Stride to track my mileage and expenses.
Right.
But when it came to it, I just, it's not that I didn't know that I needed to, or I didn't understand how much money I was actually leaving on the table. It's just, I just kept forgetting to keep that receipt, to sit down on Sunday. I just couldn't build that habit. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is the reason that, all those people who started using Stride Tax, but then kind of left, that's what was going on. And I thought, I can't be the only person with that problem. Like, there's got to be other people, and,
yes.
and hopefully there's a better way. And hopefully, we're starting to find that with Keeper. Yeah.
Man, that is beautiful, because that is the core of the issue of leaving money on the table, is really trying to remember to do those things, to remember to track that, to really get into the habit of doing that. And that's why I say I'm super excited about Keeper, because of what it does, the intelligence behind it, the algorithm behind it, man. So thank you so very much again for doing that, man. But so let me see. So we know where it came from and the idea, man. So who is it for? Like, how did you identify the type of entrepreneur that Keeper would be good for?
Yeah. Well, we started by sort of talking to lots of people. We probably did a few hundred interviews.
Wow.
And we did a lot of manual work. Honestly, we didn't have the technology early on, so people were sending us bank statements, and it was a mess.
I can imagine. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, actually, as a tax professional. But we basically realized at the very beginning, we realized that it wasn't for, let me just say, more savvy people. Like,
of course, okay.
Or people like my dad, essentially. My dad has been self-employed for 20 years. He already filed his taxes. He's not getting a refund yet, but he already filed them like a week ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So like he doesn't need that. Like he's the kind of guy, like, he's using it because, I'm his son, but he doesn't need it. And so there's people like that who they've already got such a system built in. My dad has he's got the shelf with 12 components in it, and each one is labeled with an expense type.
Wow.
He sounds like a great client.
Yeah.
But for someone like him, it's fine. But I think the types of customers that love Keeper the most, they're the ones who, maybe they started doing 1099 for the first time this year or a few years ago. Maybe they winged it last year, or they went to H&R Block, they got a bad accountant. They realized that they lost a bunch of money last year they shouldn't have lost.
Right.
And it's those types of people, the folks who were really helping them sort of like catch things they would have missed otherwise.
Okay.
Those are the people who love us the most. So, okay, great.
Yeah, you are.
So, the types of folks we have using Keeper right now, we've got, a lot of, freelance designers, we've got freelance developers, we've got real estate agents, Airbnb hosts. I would say people who, they're just busy people who feel like they've got better stuff to do and want someone to take care of that for them.
Okay. Would you say that, based on what you said, like for me, I think the best use for Keeper, me personally, is like those who are in the very beginning stages of becoming self-employed. They're in the very beginning stages of being a startup, and they are normally the ones, like you yourself stated, when you're your first time being self-employed. So you are transitioning from being a W-2 employee to becoming self-employed. And because you're in that transition, you really don't know what to do. You really don't know what to keep. You really don't know what expense does what. You can watch the channel here, but even in the videos that I make, there's still a lot of things that's left out of the videos that we just can't sit here and go through everything. So that's why I like Keeper, because it really helps narrow that gap. It really helps, close that bridge for those who are really trying to go from depending on an employer to being that employer, and making sure that their business is ran efficiently, making sure that they're not leaving money on the table, making sure that they're maximizing every single deduction so that when it comes time to file taxes, there is no question. There is no guessing. One of the greatest things that we as tax preparers and accountants, CPAs, and it's amazing because we don't have to know each other in our practice, but we can all tell the same joke about our clients, which is the ones who come in and we ask for receipts or what are your expenses, and they all just look up at the ceiling. And it's like it has to be something magical with the ceiling tiles that just dawns on them these magical numbers. And that amazes me that every tax professional from New York to California has clients that does that. And the clients that do that, unfortunately, are the ones who leave money on the table, which is, like I said, Keeper, in my opinion, is the game changer, which brings me to my next question. In your opinion, because I can talk about it all day long, I'm excited. But in your opinion, what makes Keeper so special, right? Like, what, how can I say? Let's talk about the inner workings, if possible. I don't want you to give nothing proprietary, but like, what makes Keeper so special? Like how does it do what it does?
Yeah. Well, for starters, it's the interface. What we call the human interface is entirely SMS.
Yes.
Which is a lot of people have called us crazy for that, but you basically you go online, you fill out a quick form and you link an account. But after that, we're just letting you know. We're just like, heads up, we added your gas fill up and we added your phone bill today. And then occasionally we'll ask a quick yes or no question, something very simple, right? Something very easy to understand, like, hey, are you traveling for work right now? And that's it. That's the only sort of interface you really have to deal with to have someone be preparing your tax write-offs for you. And that sounds, that's sort of we set out with that as the goal that we needed to achieve that. And that's ideally how it feels to the customer, but oh boy, it is hard to do that. It's hard to build that experience from the back end. I
can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. But to me, and I apologize for interrupting, but I want to just, say it while it's here fresh in my mind. Yeah. That is what to me changes the game. I used to teach the income tax course, like to people who were interested in becoming tax professionals, who wanted to get their license from California. I was the instructor for that class. And everybody who came in as a student had this mindset that taxes are the most difficult thing to do, right? Like even Albert Einstein, and I will always show that quote, Albert Einstein, and we know him. We revere Albert Einstein as one of the greatest minds in the world, right? Not just U.S. history, but in the world. We owe a lot to the scientific, to the mathematical community, to Albert Einstein, and even he himself said that taxes was the hardest thing to understand, right? It is like, wow. But then I would tell my students, don't freak out. Like once you get to know this, taxes is easy. Once you finish this course, you can do taxes, or at least not legally do taxes, but you can estimate somebody's taxes at a bar on a bar napkin. Once you know this, like it is so simple, it's complex. Yeah. That's what I tell my students. So the fact that you have brought that simplicity back to taxes, man, I'm probably getting like chills every time I just think about just how easy and simplistic that this app is. That's why I said it's a game changer, man. And we appreciate all of the back end work that you guys have done to actually make it simple on the front end for us, man. So yes, I just had to get that off my chest. So thank you again for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on, but bank statements, they come back in all shapes and sizes.
Yes.
And, having to clean that and having to, we have separate sort of jobs where we do employ people to look up, certain merchants and confirm that they are the category that we think they are. And there's just a whole lot of work that happens behind the scenes to hopefully make it, a beautiful experience for the user. And, if you've ever opened up your bank account and looked at the way those come back, they're all capitalized. There's a bunch of numbers in there. But try to make it work. So.
That's good, man. I appreciate that because, like you said, if you've ever looked at a bank account, not every transaction is easily identifiable. I can't even talk. Identifiable. I'm trying to say, like a lot of transactions may just have a code to it, like a bunch of numbers. It won't tell you the name. It won't tell you what company you spent that money with. It won't tell you anything, man. So the fact that you guys are doing that additional work, because to me, that's what a lot of people do. They just say, hey, I'm going to open up a separate business bank account. I'm going to run every transaction through it. And at the end of the year, I'm going to go through and I'm going to just look and see. But then when you look at that bank statement, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know what that is. So I'm not going to report it because I don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. So I'm not going to report it. And that's where the money gets left on the table. So the fact that you guys are actually, like I said, doing the hard work on the back end. So on the front end, it is a very seamless, simple to use experience, man, it's great. So you mentioned a couple of times, I'm gonna just ask you now, you guys have actual people, right, helping with this, like actual bookkeeping on the back end. I remember a few calls you guys will make with the clients. Man, tell us a little more about that.
Yeah. So it's a combination, right? So we are training, algorithms on the actual expense name so that we can try to get better. When you say that some expenses only have a code, every time we identify one of those, the system learns. Right. And we make sure that, as we start to build more knowledge, it's never lost and it's always sort of reinforcing itself. So a big part of it is the algorithms. And then honestly, the user experience has to be great. So the bar is there. And if the algorithm can't reach it, we fill it with human sweat.
Oh, that is wonderful, man.
But the good thing is every time that we have someone, going and manually checking, a transaction and a merchant name, we save that information so that they don't have to do it again. So.
That is wonderful. So not only are we getting a great app with interface, we actually have actual humans there helping us out, man. That's wonderful, man. So now I have to ask, just again, in the spirit of honesty and transparency, what makes Keeper different from the other apps that you had mentioned earlier? Like you had mentioned the QuickBooks Self-Employed. You mentioned a few other ones I probably haven't heard of yet. But from your user, right, from your idea, what makes Keeper different from those guys?
Yeah. I mean, in short, if you're using QuickBooks Self-Employed, Everlast, Hurdle, or StrideTax, you are doing your own bookkeeping. And if you are comfortable doing your own bookkeeping, like that's great because you can do that. You can set that time aside. If you have some itch in your brain that makes you like doing that, that's great. I don't say that sarcastically. I know people like this.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that we wanted to build something where we do it for you. And it doesn't cost, $200 an hour, which is what like a bookkeeper would cost. So, so that's the principal difference. And I can go on and on about the little things. I just hate how, for example, in these apps, they ask you like, hey, input your tax write-off, and it doesn't check. It doesn't tell you, hey, actually this isn't a write-off or this is. They just put all the effort and the research and the work on you. Like you have to know whether you can put your Comcast bill in because you have home office, right? Because and then they kind of expect you to go do that work yourself. And I always thought that was silly. I always thought that that's too much to ask. So
I mean, that's true. I mean, I'll be honest. Like and this was before Keeper was introduced to me, I would always tell people, go use QuickBooks Self-Employed. But I have personally never used it. And I only recommended it because it was like the closest thing out there to help somebody get their self organized. Like, yes, you're still going to have to do the work, but at least you have this app that will help you keep track. And so now, drum roll, here comes Keeper that says, man, we're going to take it one step further and do everything for you. Which is, by the way, I just can't stress enough exactly how much I am just in love with that. So seeing all that, man, we have all these great things that Keeper is bringing to us. And let me just recap. One, it's SMS. And for those who maybe not know what SMS is, a text message, right? And so all you simply do is give Keeper read access to your bank statements, which is what I love. And it's like having a conversation with your friend, right here on a device that's with you all the time. You simply say, hey, I got a message. Oh, it's from Keeper. Hey, we saw that you spent $11 at some fancy restaurant. Was that a business meeting? You reply, yes. Bam, it's added to your books. Yeah. And it's like, to me, that's the part about it that I love, because in all these other applications, you still have to do. Yeah. But with Keeper, is just like that natural conversation with your friends. I remember like when you and I talked, it was like, having a bookkeeper as a friend.
Yeah, yeah. Your buddy happens to be a bookkeeper and, likes working for you.
Yeah. Like, hey, I got this expense. Was that you? Yeah. And it's like, man, that is the part that I just love so much about it, man. But let me ask this. So seeing that Keeper is new, like, well, how old is Keeper, if you don't mind me asking?
It's very new. We just got started, really 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So, obviously I have a bunch of background in the space, and
right.
My co-founder and I have been working on it for a while now, but we've officially kicked things off, and we've raised some money pretty recently.
Oh, great. So, but I'm saying that. So seeing that Keeper is fairly new, what other challenges? Are there any specific challenges that you guys are facing now, or?
There are some. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. It's everything's a challenge. We're right. Spread very thin. We want to help more people, but at the same time, we want to keep the bar of quality high. So, at this point, the biggest challenge is, the way we've thought about our goals is just to make sure that the people who are our current clients absolutely love us. And, if they're the ones who are singing our praises, talking about us at brunch, like those are the people that, those are our number one concern.
Right.
But we have a lot of, if we're going to scale this thing, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to get to that next level and support, 100,000 users, which is absolutely the goal. Okay. So we're, but there's a lot of baby steps along the way.
Of course. Now let me, because I know, and the reason I asked about challenges is because I know that Keeper helps keep track of expenses, but what I didn't see was the part about keeping track of the actual income as well. And I wanted to ask that question of course, being a user of Keeper and being a tax professional, I know that tracking both income and expenses is extremely important, especially for substantiation purposes. Like if anybody ever gets any kind of notification from the IRS, or what I like to call a love letter from the IRS, they'll be able to substantiate both, because it's actually important. A lot of times the IRS will say, well, this income isn't self-employment, and therefore we're going to categorize it another way, maybe as a hobby. And when they do that, a whole bunch of other things changes. So does that sound like something that we can see in the future, or yet maybe not at all? Or what is your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. You're not the first to ask for that. And so we've discussed it internally, and I think it's actually pretty straightforward to add that feature. Wow. We send an expense statement at the end of every month. We can just add the sort of the income, so you have it. So you're tracking everything, as you like to say.
Yeah. Because I don't think, like with expenses, is more complicated, because you have to categorize the expenses, but the income is just income. This is just money earned right there, right? But
it's really straightforward for us. Yep.
And that's glad. And you see that, family, this is what I'm excited about, because as I mentioned it, we witnessed him write it down, so to speak. I guess he has his pad right there. Yeah. We saw him write that down, which is another reason why I'm so excited about Keeper, because yet again, Paul, you're here, right? Like you are the founder of an amazing app, and yet, man, you're humble enough to grant time to me to come on and speak to the family, man, and kind of give us the personal side of this amazing app. And not only are you doing that, but you're listening to the point of evolving, right? You're listening to the community, me being the voice of a small part of that community saying, hey, I hear you. Let's go ahead and make that change. Let's add that to it. And I'm grateful, man, on behalf of those who are watching, on behalf of the whole self-employed tax guy family, man, we appreciate you doing that, man, because, yes, that's for us to be 100% substantiated is great.
It's funny you say that. You know, the expression is if you don't adapt, you die in the startup world. So it's actually probably even more important for me to listen and for my co-founder to listen, for our team to listen than anything. You know, we're going to be building this for our customers. And so absolutely, you know, we take feedback very seriously.
Oh, man, that's great. That's great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So I'll definitely make sure that I'll link to everybody so we can get all kind of feedback, any ideas. Family, if y'all are watching this video here, if you have any ideas from Paul, you can see they are very receptive. They love feedback as much as I love feedback. So make sure we get it to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So let me ask one last question, and I'll definitely let you go, man. So what is going to be the focus, say, going forward? Like what can we expect, or if there's anything from 2019 from both you and the team over at Keeper?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, we've raised some venture capital, which in short means that, you know, are the expectations that we scale this quite a bit and sort of get those 10x returns that venture capitalists look for. That said, you know, number one and David and my priorities is to make sure that the customer base that we have, you know, we can limit that customer base, but we want to make sure that they absolutely love the service.
Right.
Before we really pour the gas on the fire and start just throwing money at the problem, we want to ensure that, you know, the core service we've built and the value we provide is there, and that that we've got 10, 20,000 users who are sort of already organically wanting to share that. Before we go down the traditional sort of just you know, run a bunch of ads type of approach. So 2019 for us is the year of the customer.
All right, man. I like that. Y'all heard that. We got a new zodiac sign. We have the year of the customer, right? Like, you know, I was born in the year of the dragon, but this year, if you're in 2019, you are born in the year of the customer. We're going to take that and make that into a hashtag, Paul. Man, so
yeah.
Again, man, I think that's all that I had for you, Paul. Man, I really just wanted to. I really know what to expect. You know, when you said yes, you agreed to come on, and I was like, oh, really? Wow, that's cool. So awesome. You're here. I'm grateful. Thank you so very much, man. Thank you again for just having the tenacity and the intuition to create such an amazing, game-changing application, man. I'm definitely behind it 1,000%. And I'm encourage everybody to use it, because to me it is just such a natural game changer, man, to be able to have the interface. And I don't know what else to say. I can ramble on for days.
It's thanks so much for having me. I mean, I'm super honored, and I hope that we can deliver on the promise that, you know, that we're giving you, and that you're, you know, these expectations, we can uphold those expectations. And so, you know, I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with folks on from your channel.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I'll make sure that we somehow, some way, get them to you. Definitely make sure we get them to you, man. But if there's anything else, man, I think that will be all, man. I know I see the whiteboard back there, like it's been wiped clean, ready to go get some.
We cleaned it. Yeah, we didn't want to have too much sort of, you know, personal stuff. So, there.
But yeah, Paul, man, again, that's it for me. I really just want to say thank you for taking the time out to come on and give us that information, give us that breakdown, and just, you know, let us know that there is a human side to the apps out there, man. So it's great. It's wonderful. I appreciate all of the hard work on the back end to make this simple on the front end. And yeah, man, if there's anything that I or we can do for you as far as that information, by all means, let us know, and I'll make sure I feed that information to the family, and we'll go from there.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks, Tyrone. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem, Paul. Well, again, I appreciate you, and I guess we'll follow up with you again when there's a new big change in Keeper.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you.